Hello, everybody. Welcome back to NLC Division 2. We're going to be swiftly moving into our second match of the evening, Lucent versus Nativz. And Jamada, I was told I've had a break from casting for a little bit. I've been off, not really doing very much, but living my best life. And I was told by people, hey, the meta's much slower.
Yeah.
Well, that's just patently not the case from the 100% sample size of one game that I've seen so far this split. It just seems like 22, 23-minute games are just the run of
No,
business.
no. Stomp still can happen, right? I think, unfortunately for Rate, they just came in with a game plan that didn't potentially seem particularly too clear. Or at the very least, if they had one, it was very quickly routed up by the fact that, they couldn't really play through the mid lane. The top lane matchup was also one that we didn't really see too much attention given to. Perhaps, again, the original game plan was to try and use maybe some priority that could have been gained from the Tristana lane, but again, Teasers was winning out on that matchup super hard against Daryl, and unfortunately meant that there was nowhere to really play through, and we got the snowball that we ended up seeing. Expect to see, longer games still. I think this is probably one of our outliers. We still saw, 23, 24-minute games, sub 26-minute games too on the NLC Division 1. But this was, again, one of the outliers. We're probably still going to see the slower games. Speaking of slower game, we saw that out of Nativz, actually, on Tuesday, because they were kind of unable to close out. And then what we got after that was a complete fiesta. And I've been speaking with management leading up to the match today, and I've been asked, do I want to see Nativz throw again? And whilst my honest to God answer is yes, it would be kind of hilarious, we need to definitely see Nativz clean up their play. And unironically, it's actually in the mid game. One of their, what was in spring, strongest points of gameplay definitely needs to be refined a little bit coming into Lucent, who, of course, as well, did end up losing on Tuesday. So both these teams definitely vying for their first victory of summer.
We've jumped to picks and bans, but I was looking at a little bit of the reaction because I didn't manage to catch these games live on Tuesday. And everyone was like, Nativz are thrown. And I was like, oh, it's maybe a new roster bedding in, it'd be out. I looked and I was like, Yeah, you can't use that excuse. It's the same roster. I don't understand, but I'm excited to see how they go up against this Lucent roster, which is seeing a couple of new members coming in. DBL is probably the big name that a lot of people are excited about or not excited about, depending on which tier list you look at.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to see how he responds to the first loss up against Nativz. We've got Gangplank, Wukong, and Senna all taken off the table. Keep your eyes out for something like the Gwenda, Lilia, and Talia, of course, both very strong apparently on this patch as well. So it's going to be fascinating to see what makes its way through.
Yeah, no, again, I'm expecting to see things like Gwen, Lucian, Lilia, maybe even banned away from Johnny. We ended up seeing Zed Jungle from Johnny on Tuesday. Definitely a bit of a statement pick coming in for your debut, but wasn't able to make it work. Did end up falling quite short on execution in terms of how high that mark has to be. We'll see whether or not Lucian want to try and draft something maybe a little closer to simpler in terms of execution, just to ensure that, into a team like Nativz, you can allow yourself as many mistakes as possible, because honestly, Nativz are still that team who will very quickly pounce on mistakes and very quickly capitalize on them and make, an inch very quickly turn into a mile.
So there's one ban left. Gwen, Renata, and Talia, have all been left up. So there's plenty of options for bans, and then the picks are going to be traded back and forth. But as we were talking about, it's all about trading when it comes to the power picks on the current patch, and Talia is going to be one that they're most scared of. So Gwen is available if DBL wants to pick it up, or of course if Johnny wants to pick it up. We saw it in the jungle last game, and if you're playing Zed, daggers and scissors are kind of the same, but it's actually going to be the sword Viego locked in.
Okay, so Viego actually has a decent one-to-one matchup with Gwen. So if the intention is that you're expecting to see Gwen taken in this rotation, you're going to put the Viego into Gwen, then sure, Gwen, it can kind of suffer to the base damages and such, but things like that could have been swayed in the durability patch. So I'm unsure whether or not we'll see the matchup come out and whether or not it'll actually be still a Viego-sided matchup. But for now, Nativz will respond with Renata. They were one of the first teams in Division 2 last split to pick this one up, even as going as far as B1ing it multiple times, and they are going to take it in the first rotation at the very least. Gwen, like we've kind of highlighted whilst talking about the Viego first pick, still up and available if they want to go for the S tier picks, but we've seen things like Renata Twitch come out multiple times But for now, what we will actually get in response is this Nocturne. So Nativz ignoring the Gwen for now, maybe looking towards a Lucent to potentially pick out themselves, because, I mean, realistically, they have the Viego, who's probably going to end up in Johnny's hands. DBL can probably very happily pick it out, but maybe they're expecting Lindorf to have a counter pick stage already.
It could just be a case of them saying, you've left it up for some reason. We're not going to bite the bait on that one. We've already got the Viego. We've already got a powerful pickup, and we can look to go elsewhere, especially something like the bot lane. But it looks like it's going to be the Cogmore locked in. So going for that hyper carry, you were saying that hyper carries are better on this patch, and Cogmore's the scaler of all scalers.
Yeah, and I expect Lulu will be taking this rotation. Otherwise, it will likely be banned away on Native side. They already have the jungle match up, likely showing. You have the AD carry support. You already know what you're picking into. So Lucent probably going to just use this time to talk about picks and bans further on throughout the stages. Now I'm looking towards Natives and I'm saying, what do you really want to do in terms of your AD to try and match this? You have the Renard. My immediate thought process is you either try and smash it with something like Draven on the upper or Samir, but Jinx is probably the most likely response. It will get locked in. And now we go towards the second ban phase, and Natives will have first pick up here. I think when you have the first pick, I'm looking at Lucent, I'm saying you have to ban away the Gwen now. You did ban it in the first three, you did pick it in the first three, now you have to ban it, otherwise Natives can take it up. And over to Natives, I'm expecting bans towards probably the mid lane. If anything, you have R5, I expect they will give it to Lindorf, but actually, yeah, no. Victor, banned away. You're already dealing with Kog'Maw Lulu. You don't want to have to deal with another scaling mid. I also would like to see Azir banned away as well, as it can do fairly decent into some, forms of dive like you're already showing the Nocturne.
You've just spoken to Hitbrain, haven't you? He's in your ears like, banners
Yeah.
here, get rid, don't want it here. But I think it'll be entertaining. And of course, the Nocturne could go mid. There is that world where he could be looking to go into that mid lane rather than the jungle. You've given me a little bit of a grimace, so I'm expecting that one not to happen. But the Vigar's gone, so that's good. And the Camille will also be removed from the Rift, which allows for something like the Gwen to come through if they don't ban it. Fiora is also a strong pickup in the current meta. That could just be the lock-in if they don't want to give the counter pick to Lundorf. But it's going to be Zoe, so Gwen and Fiora have both made it through.
Surely Natives just go for the Gwen now at this point. I mean, unless they're really afraid of something that DBL can pull out into it, you even banned away the Camille on top of what you're seeing right now. That is kind of just my expectation. It's been left up for so long, but for the Ornn,
That's
really?
Ornn.
I'm so confused. This Natives.
Have,
I mean, it's not as if Lundorf doesn't play the champion, by the way, because if you think back to Spring Split day one into Monster, what was Lundorf playing? He was playing Gwen, and he absolutely stomped Monster by himself on that pick. But it's being ignored, and Ornn will be the blind pick. I definitely do understand to a degree in the sense of Natives did need a little bit of engage. They have the Nocturne. They want to maybe instead try and stack that engage on top of it. So in terms of theme, does make sense, but Gwen's such a powerful champion on this pick. It is on this patch. It is so absurd to see it go. What I imagine now will be unpicked as now Olaf. I beg your pardon. Will be responded into a lane that we've been seeing gain a lot of popularity just simply because Olaf is so oppressive with his most recent soft rework changes. The W now gives a shield, the Q shreds armor, and quite frankly, being able to stay in Ragnarok for that long should it should be illegal. It shouldn't be legal at all. And he's going to have a Lulu to buff him up in those mid-game team fights. He's going to be an absolute monster. And now looking at Natives, I mean, the hover could actually very well be locked in. This is definitely something that I would expect Natives to do. This level of creativity, something like the Karthus. And it would kind of work, but I'm expecting something to match the Ahri in the sense of trying to lock her down, maybe towards the Lissandra. But instead, we will actually get one of these cool hovers coming. It's going to be Xerath to try and outrange. And again, stuff like, the Nocturnal coming down, all of a sudden it's really dark, you hear the call of the Forge God, you don't know what direction it's coming from, and then you see the the artillery beam coming down from Xerath. It's going to be super oppressive onto the backline, so I'm curious to see how Natives are going to want to pilot this one, but Lucent, double bruisers with the Lulu to buff them up in the mid game, the Cogmore as well there to then be that late game reassurance, and of course the mid lane priority potentially in the first couple of waves to work with Ahri before you expect Xerath to start to take control of that one.
I'm really excited to see how the Olaf does in this one, because as you mentioned, him being really strong on the current patch with those changes in that rework, and of course, the couple of changes to Xerath as well on this patch, which makes him a little bit nicer, just a little bit more of a stun situation on the E, which, as you were saying, you're looking for someone to lock down the Ahri, maybe Xerath could be the solution. But of course, people always going to be claiming that, Gwen is immune. Haha, this is the meme. Olaf's ultimate is just a different level of immune. What are you planning to do with him? Because the Gwen can only move it once. The Olaf moves it with him permanently at all times.
Yeah. Yeah, especially since the Rurik obviously keep it on the longer you're in combat, hitting champions, I believe. So if you can stick on top of this Jinx, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare. But the only issue is you can always get bailed out, and I think that's always going to be a threat. We'll see how things go, but I really do believe Lucent have given themselves pretty strong tools. But I think Nativz, with a very creative draft, bringing in the Xerath, ignoring the Gwen, both these teams, I think it's going to be the first time, maybe in Division 1 and 2, that it goes entirely ignored. Such a powerful champion on this patch. I am still kind of gobsmacked by that.
I don't really know why neither team wants to go towards it. Maybe something to ask the players when we get the post-game interview. Regardless of the result, it'd be interesting to see the thought process behind both of them. If we could talk to a coach, that'd be amazing. Just be like, hey, Gwen exists. What are you doing? Because I'm not a draft expert.
Honestly,
but
neither am I at the moment, because 12-10 has changed so much. So
I like how you put the at the moment in there. You're like, I'm usually a draft expert, but
I am a draft expert, but right now I feel like teams are still getting to grasp with how things have changed on this patch, and what priorities need to be taken. But I feel like everybody at least got the memo that Gwen remained incredibly powerful, and to see it go all the way through draft, even hovered on multiple occasions, and not have it be picked is definitely quite baffling.
I do appreciate the hovers just to remind us, hey, we know the champion exists, we're just not going for it. So they're just letting us know that they haven't just forgotten that Gwen is in the game. They've decided to go in a different direction. I mean, the Olaf and all are both strong champions in that top lane. Of course, jungle would be the other place that you could see the Gwen. We saw it there in game number 1 with Viego and Nocturne. There are strong champions there as well. So it's not like they've undervalued the Gwen necessarily, but they've just decided to go in a different direction, which is going to be fascinating because Nocturne, especially in the jungle, very interested to see what he can get going in these not necessarily super early stages from the jungle, but especially when you hit that level 6, your first paranoia needs to get something done. Even if it's just using it as utility to allow yourself a very good skirmish or to fight around an objective, because the Nocturne in the later game doesn't look so hot.
No, it can really struggle, and I think into a composition like this, where you could very easily get polymorphed, Cogmore can then burn you down, Charm can come out with a lot of CC from Johnny as well via the Spectral Mort. It can be very difficult, but you can always then be the one that's providing that disruption for things like the Call of the Forge God being undodgeable all of a sudden, or Xerath to hit those shots with the ultimate. And Fuyu, curiously enough, has gone for the Ghost, and I'm not sure how much I agree with it or disagree with it. Little Pants with the heal, I expect to kind of be glued to his side with that summoner spell choice. I would have liked to have seen the cleanse, simply because you're dealing with Renata, you're dealing with Nocturne. If you ever get clipped by that Renata ultimate, you are going to shred your own team. And I mean, I think realistically, Stille, you've gasped.
What?
You gasped.
No, I was chuckling. I can't wait for a late game team fight where he's going to press W, turn around, and just one bang his entire team.
Yeah.
That's going to be very funny.
I can very much see it happening, but one thing I will say, unless it's a spectator bug, is Clocks and DBL both seem to be missing items. So I'm going to assume.
What? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, the League of Legends.
Yes.
Okay, no, it's fine. It's an observer bug.
Sorry.
It's an observer bug.
Our observer has fixed it for us. Thank you very much. Would have been pretty funny.
We've seen more than our fair share of players not buying items in the past, though.
So we have. I just thought of a funny joke.
Okay.
So you know how normally they say Gwen is immune? They spam it.
Yes. Yeah.
Gwen was immune to being picked. It's draft phase. Apparently.
Sad Gwen sounds.
Gwen sounds.
She's seen enough, and by seen enough, I mean she's been banned until today because she was not played at all on Tuesday because she was banned 5 times and then lost in game number 6 of the season and completely ignored in game number 7. So, not great for the old Gwen in the current Div 2 meta. Having a great time in Div 1 though, so swings and roundabouts.
Anytime Gwen is picked in Division 1, yeah, It's just a bit of a massacre, to be honest. So we'll see whether or not that trend bleeds down into Division 2, because, quite frankly, I would
We
like
won't
to
this game.
we won't this game, though.
Because we've got a couple of Olaf and all one up on the top side who we're having a little bit of a look at. But this lane, are we expecting to just see aggression from Olaf undertow, using that true damage, using that armor shred to just make Lundorf quite a miserable man?
Yeah, that is definitely my expectation. I think DBL should be able to have control of this lane, a lot of agency in terms of wave control. And once he's level 6, then he'll have kill threat. But until then, unless Lundorf really makes a big error in positioning, he should be able to just pilot this one out fairly comfortably. Johnny, curiously enough, is pathing up towards the top side where he does have priority, obviously. See whether or not he can turn it into perhaps a gank or other, but goes for the full clear, still late, doing the exact same thing. So junglers pathing down toward the lanes where they know they'll be able to secure the skull crab. Shouldn't have too much else go on, but we want to talk about Nativz, how dominant their game was against Lightside until it wasn't.
I was very confused for a second because I was like, the Nativz lost game 1. Where are you going?
They did kind of just take 2 bad team fights in a row, and that was kind of it. They lost the game off the back of it. I think I could even be right in saying that they were still up in gold by the time they lost the game. I would have to go and double check the VOD as Johnny.
There you go. Start onto Lundorf, but he's going to be able to follow through as the charge was well timed by Bjorn and was able to get away.
Yeah, and Lundorf again. Just going to be on moments throughout the entirety of his laning phase here, just weak side until the end of time. DBL, no flash. Surprised Sinde turned around. Maybe could have gone for something there, but maybe was expecting Johnny to still be in the river and waiting for his approach. So let's go for it. And top lane, the noodle fight will be going on for a while, but Lundorf losing out on the resource battle, doesn't have too many undertows. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. What's the Q called?
What, on Olaf? On. Oh. I don't know why you're looking at me. Like,
because it's always you that wants to get me on the ornaments. But you
yeah,
don't know
the ornaments, but we're not playing cool with the ornament ability names. Although DBL's going to cut him down to size, Lundorf is going to have to flash away, not going to be able to do so. First blood goes the way of DBL.
The camera even cuts away. Can't show that one on screen. First blood goes over to DBL. And so I'm talking about one misstep, and all of a sudden you get a rundown in this long lane with Ghost and the undertow slows. As Lundorf have to be forced to teleport back to lane to try and fix his lane state, but expect DBL to come back. They were a pretty strong base, 31 CS. I expect, yeah, more than a pickaxe at the very least. Iron Spike Whip will come in. The response is swift from Nativz. They're going to pick up this dragon. And the cross map is at the very least there. They'll get the dragon stack and go in, and that's at the very least going to benefit them. And they should continue to have priority for the next 5, 6, 7 minutes even, I think. So expect them to prioritize that second dragon unless things really start to go right. I want to see Lucent on spawn, take down this Herald, and try and put it down in a lane where they can get loads of plates. And I expect that to be the Olaf lane.
Volcanic Rupture.
You went and looked it up, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I absolutely no clue. Well, I don't play Ornn. I like to, when I log into League of Legends, I want to play League of Legends. So I play Zac currently, like a man of culture. As things have, it's a good start for the LF, wants to dominate the lane, as you mentioned, and now we're looking towards this bot lane. Renata Jinx up against the Kog'Maw Lulu. It's nice to see Kog'Maw Lulu back. I say 2 games into returning to casting. I'm going to say that for like exactly 4 more games, and I'm going to be bored of it, but it's definitely a good one for Lucent, because they know that they're not necessarily on this mad timer, but if they can get Kog'Maw to 3.5, 4 items, he's going to be able to decimate the enemy team.
All I can think about now that Kog'Maw is back in meta is, where is Monk when you need it?
Monk will carry, or the greater spotted Monk will not carry. As we saw in 2019, that old joke. I think it was actually HitRadio made that joke initially. Or it might have been Orcs. LPL,
it sounds
MSI, Stalwart.
Too smart for it to have been Jake, to be honest with you. So I'm going to say it was Orcs.
That's brutal. He's not here to defend himself. Why? Why would you do this to him?
You know how me and Jake get down. Unfortunately, I wasn't even able to get on the cast desk with him this week, and I could have bullied him on cast. That would have been great. But
In-person bullying is the best.
it is fantastic. But unfortunately, we will get the privilege of that soon enough.
Yeah.
But back to the game. Lucent, priority hasn't been in their favor in the bottom side or in the mid lane. However, DBL continues to take control of the top side, so that's where I expect to see Johnny's efforts come to fruition as Nativz bottom side will get forced back by Fuyu and Lil Pants. We're trying to get a reset timer in, but now I think we have a bit of an awkward one. It will actually be Fuyu and Little Pants who have the ability to try and reset, maybe even roam up if you're Little Pants up towards the top side, trying to stop the freeze, but I don't think Fuyu or Little Pants really care too much about it. Clock's actually going to stop Fuyu's recall entirely. A lot of annoyance between these two bottom sides, and Johnny, there you go, on spawn, on Herald. That's what I really wanted to see. From all this control on the top side, Olaf is going to be unskirmishable at the moment, so great to see taking control there. And again, I want to see this Herald probably dropped in the top side so that they can get all of the worth out of it. Probably as many, get all 5 plates, rather, is what I'm trying to get to. Because I think in the mid lane it's going to be too difficult. They should, in theory, be able to clear out a wave consistently, but what they could try and do is drop the first Herald in the mid lane, just chunk out, then prioritize the second one and get the mid lane tower. A game where Xerath is present, mid lane tier 1 really does rise in value just because of how much wave clear he has. If you can, take away that safe haven, all of a sudden the map can really open up for you. You can continue to move pressure from the mid lane over towards the side lanes.
Absolutely. I was going to actually question that because you said you want to see it potentially go towards that top side, but giving that gold over to Fuyu on the Kog'Maw in this early stage, especially into a Jinx, would that not be pretty nice as well?
It definitely would be. Getting your Kog'Maw to his Iron Spike ASAP will allow you to use that avenue of gameplay, right? You're sort of more front to back type team fights, but I think it's going to be a little bit too difficult just because of the nature of being able to potentially push away a Jinx and are now consistently having the threat of potentially just getting Nocturnal ultimated from Stille, and realistically the bottom side of the map is the strong side. You could try and rotate Fuyu and Little Pants out, but I think it could be a little bit too difficult just because right now it seems like the bottom side of the map is fully controlled by Nativz. Consistently, the agency is just not there for Fuyu and Little Pants, so they'd have to give up plates, gold on the bottom side, and then you would be likely giving up DBL's lead. So I think the best way to gain a net average, or the highest net average, is try and push it into the top side.
Well, we'll have to see if the maths has been done by Lucent the way that you've done it there. You'll have to keep eyes on Johnny, who is hanging around on that top side, so maybe he just heard your logic and was like, you know what, yeah, that sounds about right. I'll just head up there, steal Krugs, and then you can do, because the wave's crashing in.
Yeah, Lindorf just took multiple bad trades, so they're going to probably just look for the dive here.
Oh, there's the dive. So much damage coming on through. Lindorf will be able to get away for a second longer, but will not be able to survive as Johnny actually dives away using that reset on the bottom side. Nativz are going to take up the dragon. Second of the game for them if they can secure it, but they might lose their tower top.
Yeah, they should be able to get the whole tower if they want it. I think the fact that they just lost the second dragon, very irritating bug. But what isn't a bug is the fact that Hextech Gates will show up, and that will be the dragon. It's 2 very quick dragon takes. We're going to see a potential 21-minute dragon spawn for that soul point for Nativz if they can pick up the third one. But whole tower taken on the top side. And this is what I mean. The only real pressure that Lucent are trading now is the future pressure of having to deal with the soul. Didn't lose out on any resources, in gold value on the bottom side. And that's why I was pushing for Johnny to just go and drop the Herald on the top side of the map. Fortunately for them, Lindorf took a series of bad trades, which makes the dive super easy to execute, and the Herald drop even easier.
So looking at the gold after that little exchange, it's going pretty good. Actually going to have a fight right now. The Paradise is going to be thrown down, fleeing away from Clocks, but he's going to be able to secure the kill onto Johnny. There's some damage coming on through. Nativz managed to grab themselves their first kill of the game.
Yeah, and it's been a bit of a slow early game for Nativz, but you always want to see the first Paranoia be successful, and it very much was. Take down Johnny, no flash from, I believe, the play on the top side. Very easy pickings as all DBL finds Lindorf very far away from home, but Ghost is available. We'll swing back up to the top side, pick up this wave, and immediately turn around and run because he knows DBL already has Stride Breaker, has Ghost. If he finds him in the middle of the lane with 1 undertow slow, it is lights out.
because it's not ever just one undertow slow, is it? It's always many undertow slows in a row. And it's not fun. Like, I'm glad that Olaf's back, though. He's one of those champions that's quite entertaining to watch just because of the nature of his playstyle in Ultimate. You have to be bowling in. It's kind of like Jarvan, where I'm always excited to see him around because you know that you're not going to be able to just sit back and passively play team fights because your whole kit is throwing yourself aggressively at the enemy team. And you're not necessarily that tanky, especially with the Olaf where he gives up his tank stats because who needs those when you can just throw axes at people? Which is, you know, a good philosophy to have in life, if not necessarily in every League of Legends game. Now Nativz are moving down towards this bottom side. Lundorf a bit behind enemy lines, and is going to be caught out by Kurosh, who puts down some damage, but will be able to dive away. As an interesting decision, because I don't really know what was the plan there from Nativz.
Yeah, me neither. Definitely a little more, I'm not going to say lost. I think that word is a little strong, but Nativz, in the grand scheme of things right now, don't really have to do much other than try and rely on this dragon spawn up in a couple of minutes' time. I think what they will be looking to do is have good setup for that. They're trying to pick on DBL, but he'll just ghost away and had the Ragnarok, worst comes to worst, could have turned it around. As Kurosh, for a bit of a all-in trade, hard to really tell, and he's definitely not going to find anywhere near lethal, hard to relate. But yeah, I think Nativz, for now, they kind of just recognize the game state as is. They're okay in terms of fighting. Relative strength, they're not too far off where Lucent is. You know, they're only 1,500 gold down, which, you know, for 14 minutes is definitely a bit of a sizable gold difference. But when you take a look at that inventories, the items, right? Everybody is at parry. Everybody has, you know, their mythic completed bond supports. But beyond components, they're really not even too different. So unless some big bases come in for Lucent in the next 20, 30 seconds or so, expect to see pretty much parry and champion strength for now. As Fuyu still a wild's way before we see that, you know, massive Cogmore come online. But still, Guinsoo's not a bad spike to be fighting on. Neither is Kraken Slayer for Yoppa. I think the key concern realistically is just DBL on the Solaf once he comes down to the bottom side. How will Nativz be able to deal with him? He's going to be able to run through that hostile takeover, but will he be able to stick onto Yoppa long enough to also kill him through bailout? I think that's the big question too.
Well, the thing is, he can run through the hostile takeover, he can run through the ultimate from Renata Glask, but his team's Cogmore can't. And when you're giving up those defensive stats, the last thing you want is for Fuyu to snap his head back and vomit all over you, which could well happen if DBL isn't careful. But then getting onto Renata Glask, getting onto Yoppa, getting onto Ryle as well, actually on the Zeraf, because the stun isn't going to be able to land onto DBL from him either. Could definitely be worth the risk, worth the edge of the seat gaming that DBL has so far provided to an extent. He's doing exceptionally well in lane. He's almost already taken that inner tower in the top side, but is looking to come towards this objective, which is already spawning onto the rift. And it looks like Nativz is going to be first to punch, just going to start this one up immediately.
Well, Johnny's here, has the Herald in his back pocket as well. Could have maybe dropped it in the mid lane for a little bit of extra pressure from the Lucent point of view, but Nativz are being shoved back a little bit.
Forge gone. Ari in the backside though, doing a decent amount of damage. Still needs to be careful as he is bailed out, but he's going to be thrown back into the mix. Dragon is still being taken though. Everyone's going low, but no one's gone down. The Dragon, it should be secured. It's going to be Lucent who grabbed this one up. Johnny with the smite, but now they're in full retreat. Doesn't make a decker off it. Will not kill anyone. But Kurosh is just hanging out in the back of the pit, looking for a way out. He's going to have to flash in the end. And no one goes down in the exchange. Dragon though, it's denied and secured by Lucent.
Yeah, and I mean, that was the big point of pressure for Nativz. That's now gone. Lucent picking up that Dragon is kind of huge for them because now they don't have that massive looming 5-minute timer over their head. And now I say to Nativz, where's the point of pressure that you really want to play towards? That Herald is no longer on the map. Lucent were very quick to snap that one up, so it's not like you have, you know, a tower that you can really aim towards with that Herald to try and accelerate any particular carry. Well, the agency currently lies in Lucent's hands, if you ask me. DBL, super strong. Edging closer and closer towards that second item. Expected to be a death stance. Fuyu on his way to a second item. With Zeal, I expect. Be my best guess. See what Fuyu wants to build. Whether or not he will sit on the item or not.
Of course, that's always an option. When does Cogmore buy his Mythic? out of interest, just with the current state of play, because he's always one that likes to go for that Rage Blade. Is it second, third? What's the...
Yeah, like Rage Blade first, second, Blade Through and King first, second, right? I think I'm not sure if it depends on the game, whether it's just player preference. I'm not even sure if either one is more efficient. Typically, Blade Through and King is, you know, a harder spike on purchase for many champions. But yeah, it kind of depends on the build path you want to go. I've seen people go, you know, even Kraken Slayer first into those items, or hold on to this point as Lindorf is kind of getting good here. Yeah.
Should be enough there, yeah. Johnny's able to just secure that one. There wasn't a way out for Orn, didn't have the summoners available, and now Nativz need to be a little bit careful. They've lost a member, but in the bot side, they're just going to lead Joppa down there to try and get himself a tower. As in the top side, Lucent want to grab a return and should be able to do so because of all the work the DBL did earlier.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, Lucent could have gone even further if they wanted to. They had Herald.
Ooh, Snille going in aggressively. Zaus making it rain. And that's going to be the kill going over. The ultimate goes wide from Joppa, who is going to be able to get their clocks moving forward, though, to try and keep Snille alive. Should be able to do so as members of Lucent turn from the top side. That's just going to be the one pick going over to Nativz.
Yeah, and I mean, if this is any layer in the game, Lucent, they happily drop that Herald. They get the tower in the top side, maybe even the inhibitor. It's a bit of an awkward time to do it, but the fact that they rotate down towards the mid lane now means Johnny has around 30 seconds left on this Rift Herald, which says to me they're probably going to run it down mid, drop the Herald, and look to push this tower. They will know that Nativz are likely going to be on a reset timer, so this could be a good window for them, though. See what they can get done with that Herald. Kurosh is also going to base, but he has teleport. I think drop the Herald mid, rotate down towards the bottom side where DBL is shoving in a wave as well. Try and look at that side of the map for pressure. Nativz opening out to the top side of the map, so I'm curious to see where they're trying to go with that one.
Coming out to the 20-minute mark as well. The Rift Herald has been summoned, as you were alluding to just now. The mid lane tower, as you said before, with the Xerath around, you want to be able to take down this mid lane tower. Didn't utilize it the first time around because you wanted to get the full top lane, but now you're getting the full mid lane on the second. There's the hostile takeover. Johnny's going berserk, but isn't going to be able to get towards anyone before he dives away. Lundorf diving on forward. The Super Mega Death doesn't do anything, but the first kill of the fight does go over to Nativz nonetheless. And now they're moving in towards the tower. You can see Kurosh dancing around. Still, he might get the bailout. Needs to step forward aggressively, though, but won't be able to get the kill. It was a second away. But Nativz are still looking good in this fight. They're still looking good in the pressure as they push forward. DBL wasn't here. He was in the bot side getting some damage down on that inner tower himself, as Joppa will step forward, has clocks there as well. Looking to get the snipes down now as Ryle unloads the damage. Won't be able to find the last shot for the kill, though, as Xerath leaves wanting. But now DBL still pressuring on this top side. Needs to be a little bit careful as Lundorf has turned up, but he's only half health. But his presence is enough to send Olaf packing.
It's going to send Olaf backwards, and I mean, that's the thing. Olaf DBL, he is the one who has a lot of Lucent's actual ability to teamfight right now. The strength to just be able to run down some of these members is all lying in DBL. He's on a side lane. He's not able to make it to that fight in the mid lane. The picks just work out. Nativz could have even technically walked away without losing anybody. Snille, kind of unfortunate to not get the bailout at the very last second. The bleed out was just a bit too quick, unfortunately. And Nativz now probably sitting fairly comfortably in terms of being able to contest this dragon, because look at the inventory of Joppa. Has the Phantom Dancer, has the BF Sword. Actually, look over at the oven side of the game. Ryu does have a Runeland second, so aiming to hopefully melt more people at the same time. Got our answer on where this was going. I was like, PD? No, that doesn't make sense. As Handshake comes in onto Kurosh. Too much damage will follow, but actually, I take that back.
He might have managed to get on the Snille, though. He's going to try and dive forward, but he's going to be caught up. Managed to get on the back line onto Kurosh, though, and now the trouble brews as the ultimate coming down from the Renata Glass. DBL caught in the middle is going to be taken down. Snille bailed out as Little Pants is trying to run through the hills, but now Fuse, the one who's going to be targeting. Joppa going low, but will be able to survive. Dances away with the passive coming through. Nativz taking our fight. This game is flipped on its head.
Fight is won by Nativz, and they're not even really caring too much about this dragon. X-Tech Dragon, they are looking towards the Baron. Johnny is still alive, but no ultimate. Lil Pants coming out of base. It's the only issue. I'm not sure they're going to be able to make it here in time. Delay is quite low. Lundorf is going to tank this one up. Joppa with this Kraken Slayer, 2.5 items. Should be enough to burn through this just before Johnny can get here, though. I might take that back. He's trying to cause a little bit of a problem, but should be alright. Nativz will secure this Baron. It's just about getting out. And get out. They will do indeed. And now reset comes in. I expect Lucent will try and make it to the bottom side to, at the very least, take away this dragon.
5 Barons up for Nativz. That was really the only one not involved in the Baron kill itself, but was alive on the map when it was taken down. So Nativz have got themselves almost out of nowhere, it feels like, because Lucent were definitely the ones pulling the triggers and dictating the play in the early stages. They find themselves a lot of tempo, a lot of authority when it comes to pushing, and now the snipes coming out from the Xerath. No one they can really kill, but a lot of damage coming down onto Kurosh. Now DBL's been caught up, but we'll be able to dive away with the Ragnarok. Nativz try to keep the pressure on. They need to up the tempo a little bit because they're still staring down the barrel of Fuyu on the Cogmore and a composition that goes well late. What can they gain from this push?
Yeah, I mean, they should be able to get this mid lane tier 2 pretty freely. Could look to shove in more. I think it's going to be kind of hard now to dive in when you've got the Renata ultimate back up and available just a moment's time, and bailout who isn't quite there yet. Building towards with that Ruby Crystal, you imagine his third item will be a Titanic Hydra, but I mean, it's just not going to be within the next couple of minutes or so. He's going to be very far away from that. And Yoppa is approaching the point where he should be able to finish up the Infinity Edge, hopefully for him on the next base, and Nativz going to shift this pressure down towards the bottom side of the map.
Ooh, actually, that's a lot of damage on DPL, though. He's not going to be able to ult out of that one. His Yoppa goes on a killing spree, picks up another and the tower to boot. And with Nativz having taken down DPL, who's a lot of their gold, a lot of their damage in these skirmishes, in these team fights, can Nativz continue the push?
Yeah, I mean, I think they should be able to pretty happily. Relay looks like he's going to go and rotate down towards the bottom side. So Snidley, they maybe just want to look for an outright 5v5 dive on the bottom side. Now just trying to hold on to these buffed up cannon minions, slowly chip away at these towers. As the focus starting to really be laid in now by the Xerath. Xerath, haven't really spoken about too much. He has just been online, slowly farming up. Now his damage is here, is online, 2.5 items, Ludens, Shadow Flame, Boots, a lot of magic pen to work with. Not too much magic resist on the opposite side.
Looks like Nativ's going to be happy just backing away from this one, want to reset while they've got those. Which is nice, because it means that we get to play our favourite game called Does Jamada know the name of the ornaments? Jamada, 2 ornaments have you picked up so far this game. What are they called?
Wormfall and Sacrifice.
Yes, classic.
And Frozen Fist.
It's not.
I don't know what the upgraded crossbar is.
It's called Rhyme Forged Grasp.
Right. What?
There will be a test on this, Jamada, so you're going to need to maybe do some studying on that one, do some homework. But fortunately, we have 3 more items that are all available, so we'll be catching up with those. You want this game to end quickly so that Owen doesn't get any new levels.
That would be great, because I don't know the name of the other ones. So,
what are they called? I mean, I got called out for, I just forgot the name of like a regular item not that long ago, which wasn't necessarily my proudest moment. But for Nativz, they're going to be pushing in towards this top side now. They managed to break over the base on the bot side. No inhibitor taken, notably. But DBL is down there trying to get rid of this inner tower. Does the Olaf split push, what's the logic behind that one continuing, do you reckon?
I think at this point, Lucent don't really have the legs to stand up to Nativz in a straight up 5v5, so DBL is now committing to the side lane. But the issue is, I think after how much gold and how much of a lead, just in general, he was given, had to just group up with his team a little bit sooner than he was actually able to in the game. I think now it's potentially just a little bit too late for that one until you see Fuyu come online, 3 items, working towards it. But again, very slowly. I'm going to expect Lucent to be able to stand up to Nativz in a 5v5. If they go and try and contest this dragon in 9 seconds time, I think they'll get absolutely wiped. I think just try and look for any kind of cross map you can. But the issue is you want out on the top side so hard, there is no cross map to really be had besides jungle camps, which almost 30 minutes into the game aren't really going to matter too much. Nativz are kind of just half and puff and be like, okay, well, no jungle camps for the next 2.5 minutes. That'll be it. Maybe you just trade it for Baron setup and a potential takedown and fake. You do have Cogmore after all. It can be a little bit quick, but I think Nativz will be able to respond appropriately to any play that Lucent currently have. As they're just going to set up camp around this bottom side of the map so they can secure this third dragon as freely as possible.
Oh, they're going to actually try and get in as Stille dives on forward. He might be a little bit too far forward as Jig's ultimate doesn't do very much to the back line at all. As Stille going to have to dive away. Lundorf takes a couple of tower shots and will be able to stumble out as they're going to try and take this tower down. Yopper will be able to do so, but goes to half health. Looking outside, DBL is going to pull the trigger on the Ghost, looking towards Yopper. Can he find him? Goes past Clocks. Yopper goes golden with the stopwatch though, but now he's in a massively bad position. Won't get bailed out this time around. It's the shutdown for DBL as Clocks now is the focus. That's a second for the Olaf. The Ragnarok has run out now, although, so he's going to be able to be knocked out by Lundorf, who steps forward, trying to keep the rest of his team alive, but will sacrifice himself. The shutdown goes to Fuyu, which could also be massive. And just like that, Lucent, they didn't have Kurosh in most of that fight, will be able to secure themselves 3 kills and the dragon.
Absolutely insane turnaround from Lucent. I honestly thought that after that Renata came down and Fuyu started spitting on multiple people on his own team, that fight might have been done, but Yopper finds himself out of position. Yeah, again, it continues to be a trend for our favorite AD carry in the league. And he ends up going down. Bailout isn't enough to save him. Lucent turn the fight around once the true damage source, consistent damage threat from Nativz is removed from the fight, and actually finally see a successful team fight happen for Lucent. I was actually unsure whether or not it could happen, but DBL shows up and he shows up huge.
This is massive, and this is what we were saying. Interestingly enough, though, you said just moments before that fight that Lucent weren't really able to take the 5v5s, and that's why they were sending DBL to the side lane. Is that just the case of Lucent playing the fight exceptionally well and being able to, as you said, catch out Yopper?
Yeah, I think catching out Yopper was huge. Being able to find, such a beneficial team fight where effectively you're down a damage carry who's 3 items is a very, very big deal. Definitely a little bit situational, but Lucent going to be happy to take it nonetheless. Keeps the game a little more even, a little more on a knife's edge. And Fuyu has to be pretty close to his Titanic Hydra. If actually I could ask for a quick look at the gold, because I think off the top of my head, the combined cost is, from where he's at, maybe another 300 or so gold. But Nativz, they don't care about that combined cost. They're trying to take down this Baron right now. Seems like Lucent are aware as well. They get here in time to try and turn this fight around.
Well, DBL, he's not interested at all. Has the teleport if he wants to pull the trigger, though, is Lundorf moving forward. Won't be able to get the headbutt on the old horn, though, and has to dive away. The Baron has been secured by Nativz, and they're going to be able to sneak away off the back. It's going to be 5 members securing that one, as the teleport was actually used by DBL as well, so Lucent, that's not going to be necessarily optimal for them. It looked really great in the comeback stakes, but Nativz want to show that they're still on top.
Yeah, and I think Nativz, I wouldn't say get away with murder, but the fact that Lucent was so far away from that one, definitely a bit of a misstep on their part. Too many Lucent members away from the top side of the map with Baron being up. And Nativz just capitalized yet again, making that mistake in the mid lane. Try and make amends with this Baron takedown, and this time looking to, truly break the base, get some inhibitors at the very least here. Maybe even end the game if they get a one-sided enough fight. We are approaching the 30-minute mark where these death timers will, be fairly lengthy, 45, 50 seconds upon death. It's a long time to be off the rift.
We might see a scrap here as Johnny and DBL are extended, but they're not overextended. They're going to quickly be able to leave, but there's a small lull in the action as Poke's just going to be thrown down. Kurosh not feeling so good. As you see members now from Nativz moving forward. Clocks might be looking to catch DBL, but he's not really the target that you've wanted. Xerath hanging around in the back line, has himself all the range in the world. It looks like it's just going to be Nativz shoving on through and trying to potentially push forward towards this inhibitor, which of course was laid bare earlier. So no tower to defend for Lucent, but they do have all 5 members here waiting in the wings, and you've got DBL as well, of course, notable in these team fights because he has been absent for some of the action. But it's just going to be a very simple take of the inhibitor. The Call of Fortune has been used, but he's been charmed up, rooted up, and again, it's not going to be headbutted back into the fray. Nativz need to be a little bit careful. Catch out DBL with some damage. Lundorf moving forward, but can't find any CC, and it's going to be forced to stumble out. But it looks like the stun will land onto him, but he's a very big target, and the team is going to return to defend him very quickly. The Paradise used the utility, burnt to give them a defense. But it looks like Nativz happy with what they gained, and I can just back away.
Should be able to just very happily and lackadaisically move back and get a reset and spend some of the gold. Inhibitor objective definitely complete, but I would have liked to have taken 2. Call of the Forge getting cancelled, and it just ensures that Nativz won't be able to find any additional engage onto a key target, and Lucent, yes, can be happy, or about as happy as they could really ask for, given the situation. Now look to try and contest this next dragon. If they pick it up, it's Soul. 4 Hex Tech Dragon Soul. Gonna feel really good. A lot of attack speed, a lot of haste. And that additional attack static shift slow is gonna be huge. And crucially, Fuyu has the Titanic Hydra. He's even got a of an elixir of iron to have additional stats in both health and tenacity. Trying not to be CC'd, trying to be a little more resilient to some of this dive and poke damage that's coming through as Nativz look to take control of this bottom side jungle and really suffocate Lucent out. And that's definitely the idea. You want to try and find, a fight in a corridor where this Renat Olmec can get as many people as possible as Lucent try and find a rotation in.
DBL in a lot of trouble though. Got out on the side, has to throw the Ragnarok down as Nativz will be able to back away towards this dragon. Up on the map already, so it could be a case of just trying to take it down quickly as Nativz going to move towards it. Recalls and resets. I think this one's just going to be given up for free, which is excellent for Nativz. Not so great for Lucent. Terrible for Jamada, because Jamada, there are 2 more ornaments that have been purchased. What are they called?
Do you know what it is for Stridebreaker?
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool name.
Yeah, I know. What is it?
It's Dream Chatter.
It is, yes. What about the mid laner? What about your boy Zara?
Oh, it's Luden's Eye or something like that.
Oh, you're so close.
What?
It's Eye of Luden.
Same thing.
That's not, you missed a word. 50% for you so far. Right. We could get to decide if this game goes too long because actually, you might be saved because no, Renat has got a mythic, so we'll see. We'll see if the game goes long enough for Lundorf to provide that last ornament, but Nativz, with themselves having the 3rd dragon, it might go on a little bit longer. Baron up in a minute and a half. Could that be the end, do you think? There's just going to be a fight around that one that sees it off?
I mean, I think it, in most cases, should be, but 12-10 has provided us with long games so far, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it go even further than that Baron.
I'm exceptionally excited to see what the fight around the Baron is, though, because these 2 teams have been provided, and both teams have won scraps, both teams have won fights, and while it has been in recency Nativz who have dominated more, I would say, especially around stuff like Dragon and Baron, Lucent have a lot of really powered tools, and you look at Fuyu, has got that 3.5 item spike if you count the boots as half an item as they're looking to dive forward. The Nocturne's gone well ahead of his team though, so could be in trouble. Does a lot of damage though as the ultimate's thrown out by Renata Glass. Job is now here, and he's the one putting down the damage. One shot will be enough to take down the Ahri. It looks like that's the only pick so far. Real on the backside, but they're going towards DBL, who dives into the fray, but he's not going to be able to take anyone out. The support just isn't there. Fuyu's going to explode as well. And just like that, Nativz take a massive fight out of nowhere and might be able to secure this game.
It just feels like 12-10. Fights like this just randomly happen, kind of out of nowhere, and then the game ends. It's like we have 8 minutes of nothing into this, and I feel like Lucent are going to feel definitely a bit of ways about this one, as Fuyu finally came online. Could have had the space glide going, but Nativz took control for a little while and lost it, and it still feels like day one's performance to a point. I think Nativz will still be looking to find their first strong, front to back successful victory, but still not going 0-2 in the first week. Definitely a pretty big deal for them, and Lucent will still be left looking for their first victory.
I mean, absolutely. You said it felt like a game up to the point. I mean, Lucent dominated in the early stages. Nativz managed to bring it back, and then they faltered a bit. And it looked like Lucent might be able to do the haha, let's reverse sweep onto Nativz like we saw on Tuesday. But then the power coming through, the Nocturne ultimates, I was questioning them a little bit, but they were coming through and doing so much work in engaging these fights and forcing engagements to happen, which maybe wouldn't have been allowed by Lucent if they just sat back and defended. So massive congratulations to Nativz. We're going to jump to a short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking to players from both of these teams, hopefully, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes.